Hey guys, it's Karen, and I am back once again. I have such an amazing guest with me today. I'm so excited about this. Dr. Lisa Brown is joining us, and Lisa is a hormone expert as well as a pharmacist. And there's a lot of things that you and I share as far as what we do as coaches. But I got to tell you, your level of expertise on some of this stuff is it overwhelms me. And so I know that we have a lot of questions about health and hormones and hormone health and balancing and just all the stuff that goes along with being in midlife and transitioning from perimenopause to menopause. And so I'm so glad that you're here to answer some of those questions and really talk about hormone health. One of the questions I get asked a lot, actually, before I even go into the questions I get asked a lot, can you just tell us a little bit about you? I'm just so excited to get started.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to be here. Like you said, a lot of the things that we do overlap. And so it's great to be able to come together and, just kind of build upon each other and hopefully help you all. So, yes, it's great to be here. I'm Dr. Lisa Brown. I work with women in their 40s plus to help find the hormone balance that they've maybe lost track of over the years, and help improve those symptoms that we struggle with so much during that perimenopause transition.
Right. And I'm sure you get women that have had babies later in life, and now they're trying to balance post, childbirth, and then you're also going into this new phase. So there's so much that goes into our hormone health, and so many people think, oh, you're just in your 50s and your 60s, when in reality we've been dealing with this for a long time, and there's so many factors. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is regard to stress on the body. Like, why am I gaining weight? What consists of stress? Is it just regular, like taking care of the house and having kids? Is that the kind of stress that is affecting my body? Is it something beyond that? And so I try to talk a lot about adrenal health, but I really feel like you have that level of expertise that can kind of take it a little bit further and tell us a little bit about, why is adrenal health so important? Why are we always talking about stress reduction? And why, as I get older, are my workouts maybe not that high intensity that everybody's pushing for, maybe isn't the best for me anymore? So I know I just gave you like 17 questions at once. So I'm going to let you take over and kind of discuss a little bit about adrenal health.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's a lot to unpack there, but it's all it's all super important. We tend to think hormones and we kind of put them in a silo, and then people start talking about stress and exercise and this and that, and it's like, oh, whoa, I've got to take all of that into account. But you really do. The actual female hormones, your estrogen and your progesterone, are actually a much, I don't want to say smaller component, but the secret, or kind of the key, or what really makes or breaks that perimenopause to menopause transition, is your adrenal health. And that's why we harp on it so much. And, so for those viewing this, sometimes it can seem like, oh, stress, oh, adrenals, I, want to talk about menopause, but that is really your make or break factor. So when you ask, what does your body see as stress? All the things and things that you might not see as stress.
Oh, yeah.
So as we move into this phase of life, our bodies have gone through so much already. And if you look back and think about, okay, what stress have I gone through in life? You're going to think about the big things, something, God forbid, something happening to a family member, or, a layoff, or, had to move, all these big obvious things. But in actuality, all of these things are adding on to each other, including things like not eating enough.
Oh.
And women are so prone to that. Not eating enough is a huge thing that your body sees as stress, right? Because not eating enough causes our blood sugar to drop. That tells our body, oh, something stressful is going on. I'm going to start producing all these stress hormones, which then impacts your female hormones. So the obvious stressors, of course, your body sees, and then the not so obvious stressors, the not sleeping enough, the skipping meals or going long periods without eating, not eating until, 2 o'clock in the afternoon because you were just so go, go, go and so busy taking care of everyone else. All of those things your body sees as stress. And all of those start kind of accumulating over the years. So by the time we reach perimenopause, true perimenopause, where our ovaries start producing less hormones, by that time, we've had a lot of different types of stress that have kind of built upon our stress bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it that much harder to handle that natural perimenopause transition.
Okay.
When that happens, when our ovaries start making less hormones, it's time for our adrenal glands to shine. Our adrenals then come in and help take over our hormone production. So as our ovaries dip out of the show, we want our adrenal glands to be primed and in tip-top condition to come in and take over. And what happens is if you've gone through, decades of stress, again, whether that be obvious stress or that be just, I didn't nourish myself the way that I should in all these decades, your adrenals are not primed and ready to take over, right? They're still struggling. They're down here. And that is what really will make your perimenopause to menopause transition so much harder. That's when symptoms really start to surface.
And so how do I know? Because I know I read, I actually read a really interesting article from Suzanne Summers, and she had adrenal fatigue and was literally hospitalized because of it, just shut down. And so I don't think people understand when we're talking about it's important that you reduce stress. They're thinking, oh, I need to do maybe less projects at work, or I need to lighten my load on my calendar, or I just need to do meditation or whatever it is. I don't think that they're looking at healthy habits or unhealthy habits that is actually putting stress on the body. And I think that type of verbiage is so important. It is about stress on the body. So you can have adrenal fatigue. You can have, basically this collapse. What am I looking for to, how do I know if my adrenals are going to fail me?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's some more common symptoms that we see a lot, but it can be hard to decipher. If I'm exhausted, is this my adrenals? Is it because I'm in perimenopause and my ovaries aren't making as much hormones, or is it both? And what we need to do in that scenario is we need to gather all the information we have. We look at all the individual puzzle pieces, and then we help put that together. So really common symptoms are difficulty sleeping and fatigue during the day. So you could exhausted, tired, whether or not you're getting a good night's sleep, having that fatigue during the day, and then also having trouble sleeping, especially early morning wake ups, like around 3 to 4 a.m. That is a really telltale sign that you have some adrenal fatigue issues going on. Yeah.
And it's a common one I hear from women. They're I wake up at this crazy hour and then I can't get back to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very telltale sign. So all of those things would be pointing towards adrenal dysfunction. And if you're in your 40s, 50s, and we know based on that factor alone that your estrogen and progesterone is changing, so we take that puzzle piece into account. So we look at your age, we look at your symptoms, we can look at labs. I do saliva testing on my clients to look at their cortisol levels. So you take all those pieces together, and that's what should guide your treatment or your next step forward. And just to kind of go back a second on a question that you just stated, I agree with you completely. It's okay, well, great, decrease stress. Well, how does that? Cool, decrease stress. Thanks so much. But there's so many small shifts that we can take throughout our day that really help send those calming safety signals to our bodies. So even if we actually are super stressed, we can almost trick our bodies in a sense to do things that are more nurturing, and by doing things that are more nurturing and supportive. An example would be exercise. If you're in a situation where you're suffering from adrenal dysfunction or adrenal fatigue, or you think you are, and you think you're in perimenopause, this would be a time to say, okay, let's maybe take it back a little bit on the really strenuous, hardcore cardio, for example, because that is something that your body also sees as a form of stress. So it's just a matter of, where am I at in this phase? Are these things that I'm doing serving me, or do I need to make some more small, simple shifts to better support my body during this perimenopause, menopause phase? Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, it don't make sense to me, but I definitely think the way you are saying it, yes, it makes sense to the, you know, the woman that is being told that you're normal, everything's normal, your tests are normal, it's great.
You're just getting older, just deal with it.
Right. It's really looking at, how am I nourishing my body? How am I blessing my body? And understanding that it is a puzzle, that we have to put these things together. And I know, you know, everybody is so used to, I want quick answers, I want the quick fix. And unfortunately, working with an imbalance in your hormones, it's not a quick fix. It really is trial and error, and figuring out, just because it worked for Becky in the office doesn't mean that that same thing is going to work for you. And so obviously, as a personal trainer, I get a lot of, okay, I need to lose this belly fat. What's going on? And so, of course, I go to, what are you eating? How often are you eating? Are you eating enough? Like you said, most women are not eating enough. It blows their mind that I'm like, you should be eating at least 1,600 calories. And they're like, you know, we've always been taught 12,000, 12 or 1,200 calories, and that's all we need. And I'm like, no. But the other one is the rise of cortisol. And I try to get people to understand that it might be right now, these high intensity, because you hear it all the time, you know, do HIIT workouts. HIIT workouts are great. It really is a great bang for your buck. I love them, but I can't do them every day. And so that's one of the things that I think women have to understand too, is some of these high intensity workouts, some of this extra stress, like you said, you're putting on your body. Yes, movement is definitely required to feel good during this season. So with regard to, you know, let's say I'm a CrossFitter. I am not, because it scares crap out of me, but I am an endurance runner. I cannot run the distance I used to be able to run. I physically cannot do it right now, but I still enjoy being outside. So I've kind of taken it back. I've done walks. Is this my forever?
Not necessarily. No, not at all. I never settle for that response of, you know, you're getting older. It's just how it is. This is, you know, this
tap out, you're done.
Yeah, no, just roll over. You're good. No, absolutely not. You know, the only limitation is kind of is what you put on your mind, you know, what you put on on yourself. But I do think that there is a phase, and, you know, you look at what season you're in. Am I in my season where I'm going to do my hardcore training for this upcoming marathon? Perhaps not. Perhaps I'm in a season of healing where, you know, maybe I've spent decades putting my body through the ringer, and here I am, you know, almost 50, early 50s. Now what? You know, this is a time to regroup, focus on healing our body, focus on supporting our hormone production, which is where, you know, you and I come in and help people, give them the tools to do that. Yeah. And then there's going to be a different phase where you maybe want to focus more on that training and such. But there is a point where you want to slow down, regroup, say, what is my body doing now? How can I serve my body best in the decades moving forward?
I love that answer, because that is so important to understand, that you're not stuck here forever. And it really is about, how can I heal my body right now? And right now, I know my body just cannot do what it did even 3 years ago. Like, I just cannot do that, but I know I'll be able to do that again. So I guess my last question before we go, and I'll tell you what, those of you that are joining us, and I'm so glad that you're here listening to this, because it really is such valuable information, is I will give you all of Dr. Lisa's contact information, where you can find her and how she supports her community, and get you connected with that if you have more questions, because you do have such great information. And as a pharmacist, it's a totally different perspective than, you know, where I'm coming in as a trainer. And so I love it, because it really does. Like, I think people don't understand, it takes a village to get through menopause. So forget raising the children. We're just trying to get ourselves through this.
Yeah.
But my last question for you with regard to adrenal health and transitioning and feeling our best and, going through that healing process. Now, once I get to postmenopause, once I am done having my period for the 12 months and I can celebrate and eat cake and throw away my tampons,
Yep.
am I still going to be concerned about adrenal health? Am I still focusing on, stress reduction? Is it still going to be an issue now that supposedly, everything is great? Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to be concerned about it forever. Hopefully, the goal is you go through a pattern, you go through a phase of healing. Once you're there, yes, we absolutely want to focus on developing and maintaining good habits to help maintain or manage our stress. Absolutely. That doesn't go away,
Right.
but your body will work to achieve a sense of homeostasis and balance again.
Yeah.
So I would never say, nope, stop doing all these great things you've been doing to support your stress, but your perspective does shift a little bit.
So it would still be, I mean, we still want to live those healthy habits and obviously have that vitality and have a high quality of life. But as we go into postmenopause and those hormones, I don't want to say, level out, because they really don't. They just continue to kind of decrease.
Yeah.
We still see where it can, we're still living with it being, you can still spike it, you can still drain it, you can still have adrenal fatigue, even if you are postmenopausal.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they are good habits that you want to continue, but that is what, if, when your hormones are doing so much fluctuating, we want to control what we can, right? We can't control this. Our bodies are changing. So we want to swoop in and control everything we can to make that period of time easier for us, to give us more energy, to help get rid of those hot flashes, get us sleeping better, all of those good things. That's why it's just ultra important to do that during that phase.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Well, excellent. Okay. So if you have more questions for Dr. Lisa, I actually we're going to get together again, because I always have a million questions, and I know my community has a million questions. And so being able to get together and talk about things is so important, because it really is a different perspective, and it really does give them additional information that I never claim to be an expert on all of it. You just can't. There's so much. But our goal, both of our goals as coaches, is just to create awareness, create support, and create as much guidance as we can, so that people, women aren't out there trying to put the puzzle pieces together, because it is damn hard. So it's hard with having education, let alone doing it with, no one, talking about it. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
For having me. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have anything closing that you want to say? Anything more about adrenal health or tips, or before we close out?
Just I'll emphasize that it really is kind of the missing piece. It's the key. It's the secret that will help take you from A to B, is really supporting that adrenal health. So certainly, like you said, Karen, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm here for all of your.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that they have you as a resource too.
And I think so many of us, as women, not as coaches, but as women, we just think progesterone, estrogen, maybe testosterone. And really those three are the ones that get, the recognition so much, or so much time and energy spent on them in discussions. When discussions are being had, we forget about these other hormones that help balance things out. We don't talk enough about thyroid. We don't talk enough about adrenal. We don't talk enough about cortisol. And it is so important. So I appreciate this. I'm sure we will have, numerous conversations more about how to help and what are the signs and symptoms that we're looking for, and ways that we can reduce some of that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for joining us. And again, I will give all of Dr. Lisa's information so that you can get with her if you've got some more questions specifically to this conversation or other conversations that you might want to have. All right, guys, have a great one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.